Yeah, thanks a lot. So I need a little higher mic. So first of all, uh, nice hello to all the audience that is present and also the audience that is absent, because we have the transmission via internet, and so this also goes out to all sitting at home or in their offices. And so I was asked to comment on the LED scenario, and I have had only little time to prepare, not as K1, who has had a whole research team, so I only have had a few days. And I got a title, and it's Digital Revolution as a Stumbling Block to a Sustainable Future. I will here only mainly focus on the energy demand side, as also K1 did. And if we are talking about something so very new, like the digital revolution, I think I have to mention something that is very old. So Bob Solow, one of my favorite economists, said in 1987, we can see the computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics. That was mainly referring to economic growth. And the interesting thing is here, he says, we see, yeah? We can see everywhere all these applications and so on. But in the aggregate, when you look into the statistics, all of a sudden, there's no traces left. The signal does not enter these aggregate variables. And I think this is a very interesting warning. What can go wrong when you take an overall perspective on the system? So there has been a lot of arguments that were coming around. So that the people were looking too much on examples and case studies. Then what is the attribution? So it was automatization that made the productivity increase, but that was previously to computer control. We have measurement problems. We have diminishing returns. So the early productivity gains with bank transfers and travel business industry that was done even before the computers appeared everywhere. We have the complexity issue, so delays and cost overruns. I mean, this is something all modelers know. We have structural change, so the productivity improvements in manufacturing shift labor to more unproductive services in government sectors. In the aggregate statistics, therefore, the productivity increase in one sector vanishes if you take into account also the other sectors. Okay, to put it into context of a more long-term perspective on modeling. So in the 90s, basically, we have had a first wave of mitigation cost assessments by the EMF, 16, for example. So there was a strong coupling between energy demand and GDP growth that led to high baseline emissions, especially in OECD countries. We have had low flexibility to react in energy demand and supply side, which led in the end to high mitigation costs. For example, the Kyoto Protocol was assessed very costly, and these were also arguments to abandon it. Then there was a lot of critique, and then came endogenous technological change and supply-side flexibility. So the low-carbon supply-side investments and electrifications were important arguments that the system is much more flexible. The demand-side reductions were not required. They were too costly. There was not so much emphasis on that side. It has had then lower mitigation costs and deeper mitigation targets. Then including also that led then also to 2K and 1.5K scenarios. So, and the supply side flexibility now also allows for net negative emissions. It requires specs and other carbon removal technologies. And in the end, what we see is we have improvements in energy intensity in the baselines, but as soon as we go towards mitigation scenarios, the flexibility on the carbon intensity side becomes more important. We even go here negative, and when you put this relative to baseline, we see the mitigation challenge is mainly one on the carbon intensity, so the energy supply side, rather than on the energy demand side. The overall discussion about BECCS, especially in bioenergy, led to ask again for the energy intensity improvements, and that there is sustainability issues with land-based carbon removal, the deep emission reductions by energy efficiency improvements and behavioral changes were called into question again. And there might be also other sustainability synergies that are apparent with lower material intensities overall. So this is also what the paper, the LED paper, was referring to, because the downsizing of the global energy system dramatically improves the feasibility of a low carbon supply side transformation. And we can achieve the 1.5 without relying on negative emission technologies. So we went to improvements in the energy supply side. Then we got all the BECCS and bioenergy related issues. And now we are back on the energy demand side. Excuse me. So in the paper, the LED scenario is based on a narrative of pervasive digitalization. A variant of this figure, K1 already has shown, so that the smartphone may replace, not enable, all these other facilities, and therefore reduce energy consumption and also other materials. So, but we are talking here mainly about the core of what is at stake, and the end-use appliances are consuming 340 terawatt hours, roundabout. The infrastructure that is behind that, however, has 460 terawatt hours. If we move more outwards into a systems perspective, we can ask what are digital activities and alternatives that they may replace or enable. Is the digitalization a mean to improve the energy efficiency and therefore lead to energy use reductions? And then we have also to ask digitalization, the growth and the structural change issue. So we move to, if we expand the systems boundary, and here I only look at the energy supply side, but also the energy demand side. But on the energy supply side, the digitalization, the use of information technologies can also very much improve the fossil fuel industry. The fossil fuel industry is a high-tech industry. Finding new oil, finding new gas is based on computers. Yeah, the service companies like Schlumberger, they are high computation companies. Texas Instruments, the company, was a company based on oil discoveries and how to discover oil. The biggest computers are in the oil industry. Also, coal production can improve very much with digital technologies. In Germany, the lignite industry operates with capital that was built during the former socialist era in the 60s, and now they added digital technologies to improve the labor productivity and bring down the costs. Where there have been working thousands of people, now you do that with a dozen. You have cameras everywhere, surveillance systems to control, to detect and control issues that are relevant for producing coal. And that is also digitalization. Yeah? We may expand availability of fossil fuels also. So now I run, however, through these demand-side issues, and we could apply here a more broader perspective in the sense of a transition of socio-technical systems. They need not to be improving sustainability, but they may also undermine sustainability. So the number of appliances that are in operation. So the mobiles is the light blue. The TVs and the PCs are up here, but most is M2M. So this is machine to machine. This is all the stuff that you are not seeing and that can improve productivity in all different ways, energy using or energy saving. But this is the largest share and it is increasing. If we look at the regional distribution, we see North America, Western Europe, and surely also Japan, have very, very high ownership rates, including the business. And that's going to increase over the next 5 years, surely. And there is a huge growth potential in non-OECD countries, if you compare these numbers. Yeah? So there's much, much more space for diffusion of these technologies. So the digital infrastructure, I mean, you have heard all these kind of stories on Bitcoin and so on. The thing is, the global data transfer volume doubles every 3 years, and the energy used per dollar invested, because everything is getting cheaper, but that means the intensity increased by 37% compared to 2010. And so in 2013, when we have been here the last time, nobody would have talked about cryptocurrencies or video streaming and so on. But now, all these kind of new demand popped up. And it is a question then, what is going to be emerging in the future? Will there be new innovations that demand even more energy? And Kevin, the open access to data and services, I mean, this is then an open access problem. If you do not have to pay for the energy that you're using with the service, then I mean, nobody looks at their electricity use when playing a video with a mobile phone. It's 1,000 watt, not 5 watt, because this is the infrastructure related to Netflix. Yeah. So the activities, the time people spend on internet increased dramatically. So this is a long-term study from Germany. Most is media, not media consumption, but communication. Communication becomes electrified. So this is from face-to-face to face-to-screen communication. In media activities, we have a clear preference: watch, read, listen. So YouTube, newspaper, podcast. Usually the internet activities are done in parallel with other activities like commuting and waiting and also eating. You have GPS trackers now everywhere. You have health monitoring. With transportation, the question is digitalization a substitute or a complement for travel? So it's easier to travel today. I mean, buying a ticket for an aeroplane is nothing. Yeah, you can do this while standing in the queue in a fast food restaurant. Then we also have online gaming, and I have to admit that I'm cycling online, doing it. This is the complete opposite of e-mobility because it consumes electricity to mimic cycling. It brings a lot of fun. I can definitely recommend to do it, especially during winter times, to keep you fit. Then we have smart metering. I mean, with smart metering, this is a low-tech option. It is mainly an issue of institutional and regulatory challenges. Yeah? You do not need huge digital revolution to do this. The big chunks that can be saved in energy consumption is low tech. Decentralized energy production, so the digital part is the only standard control challenge. More important is market access, regulations, and contractual issues. The digital technologies then come along with that, but these are the enabling factors to make this happen. With autonomous vehicles especially, I mean, the rebound effect, we may have less vehicles but more transportation, higher utilization rates. And what public transport, I mean, the fuel costs are for buses as important as the personnel costs. In there, I think that there's not so much of a savings potential. Then, when we go to the larger economy, the digitalization may drive economic growth, which drives energy use overall. Not directly the facilities and the infrastructure used, but the overall economic activity may simply increase. Labor may be saved by digitalization. And what are then the new economic activities in which people get engaged? And the energy intensity difference between these activities is then what makes the impact on total energy. Improved logistics will enable new products, more varieties, but also more standardization. And we could see more mass production. We can see more quality improvements, however, but we could also see that the people simply buy more things because the access has been improved. And then the question is, what is the impact on the freight transport? Yeah, on the freight transport. So with all these uncertainties, I think we have to come to scientific questions. And Evelina just got a paper accepted last night on how to frame research in the socio-technical energy transition part, where we have these broader social aspects combined with technological innovations. And I think what we definitely need is more data on digitalization, on the activities related to it, and the energy use. We need the bottom-up information. We need the case studies, but also we need top-down aggregate statistics where we have a perspective on the digitalization and how digitalization affects the aggregates in the end. And the lack of data is mentioned by many, many authors when you look through the literature. We need then more empirical research on systematic interrelationships. So estimating parameters, basically. Testing models empirically. We also have to look at the impacts on economic growth and structural change. And the role of the state and all the stock variables. So is there a buildup of social and human capital that enables to use the new opportunities in the one or the other way? And if we conceptualize this in a way of social capital, and human capital, then we could also model this. Yep. We need new modeling approaches then based on this. So it's kind of digital capacities and capital accumulation being then represented in models. And the scenario building process has to represent the pervasive uncertainties. Could go in the one or in the other direction. I do not actually know it in the end, what is happening. But we may have different trajectories on socioeconomic drivers of digitalization, and we may see a flexibility to redirect digitalization scenarios from high to low energy intensity. the LED scenario, so to say, puts everything in the baseline already and puts then on top of this a policy to achieve the 1.5 degree target. But what is the flexibility to move from one to the other scenario, like from the SSP5 to the SSP1 scenario? Yeah? They are not so different in many respects, but in the way what technologies are developed and how are they used. And in the end, we may then see a completely different figure related to these highly aggregate indicators in then AR7. So thank you very much for the